Hey, people. So I just watched some news that was kind of disturbing to me, and it's fake news. We need to turn off the news right now because they're trying to spin this thing as trying to create a lot of frustration and panic. Mail ballots are coming in; they're being received, and post offices are being swept for ballots, and then the polls are counting them. So that's not a problem because those ballots don't just have the president of the United States on it. They also have congressional elections. They have your local constitutional amendments. Like here in Florida, we voted for a minimum wage, and they legalized marijuana in Nevada. Now those don't have a strict date deadline, but the president of the United States, that one checkbox on your ballot card, has a rigid and strict deadline of whatever date Congress decides. And this year, Congress decided November 3rd. The state cannot change that date for that one checkbox. But all of the other votes that you made need to still be collected and counted. So you selected your governors and everything like that. So that's why we're still going to be receiving ballots and stuff. But the Supreme Court did order that all polling locations have to separate the things that were received before November 3rd and the things that are coming into mail now. All right, so that separation has to be done. The problem, of course, is how do we supervise all of that? If I just leave a box full of ballots on a desk somewhere on Wednesday or Thursday, then how are they going to know that came in before or after? It's unless someone is watching them doing this. So we have to have our poll observers in there constantly watching for them slipping things in. And that's very hard to do with the volume of ballots that are coming in. So that's why the Trump campaign is legitimately trying to stop these counts and get people in place, because this is the opportunity for fraud. Everyone planned for an election to stop on November 3rd. They recruited their people, their volunteers for November 3rd, but all of a sudden we've got these hordes of people that have to come in after minute, and it's chaos in these poll counting locations. And it's an opportunity for people to slip things in. And what we need to change is we need to change the way these things are manipulated. Now, let's talk a little bit about Pennsylvania. That is going to resolve in favor of the president of the United States, Donald Trump. None of these ballots that are coming in late, although they have to be counted for the other things that you've checked on those boxes, they don't have to count towards the president, because the Constitution says all dates shall be the same. The time and date shall be the same throughout all of the United States, period. There is not going to be a date for Pennsylvania and then a date for New Jersey and then a date for Alaska. It's very clear in the Constitution. What the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania did is, when they looked at that, they knew about that clause. They acknowledged that the election date was unambiguous. It was very clear that this one date, but when they said it's okay to change the date to November 6th, they invoked an emergency clause, a free and equal elections clause of their state constitution. So the Pennsylvania state constitution grants them, in the cases of an emergency like this pandemic and a lot of mail, they have to argue that it was an emergency enough to modify the election date. Now, so it is legal according to the state of Pennsylvania, but it is not legal according to the Constitution of the United States. And the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania actually even said that. In other words, the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania and Georgia, in this case also, what they decided was that we have all these other ballot initiatives, all these governor races, and all these congressional races that they can change the dates on. But the presidential rate, that number is locked. So you're going to see different numbers. You're going to see more votes cast for all the other initiatives on the ballot, and fewer votes cast for the president, because the president votes have to stop on November 3rd, period, end of story. Supreme Court of Pennsylvania made a mistake, according to Justice Alito in the Supreme Court, in granting these emergency powers, because now voters don't understand that there's two dates that are applying here. There's a date for the president, there's a date for all your other stuff. It's all going on the same piece of paper, and it all has, and they have two different deadlines. that was a bad that was a bad plan. That was a bad plan. So, but anyway, as far as the presidential race, I want you to understand that the news that's being reported out there is absolutely false.
At least 10 cases so far. 2 have been dismissed, 1 sold, 1 withdrawn. I think that the cases that have been filed for the most part are part of a strategy to match.
Okay, so these are all lies. Listen closely to what comes up next. They're going to pretend like there's no way for us to separate the ballots. They're going to pretend there's no legal grounds.
Most legal analysts really do not believe that any of the president's court challenges will play out and be successful. But if he were successful in challenging ballots that were already counted, cast and counted, the question would be, well, what would the possible remedy be? How would you go back and find those ballots? Because once they're mailed in and that protective sealed envelope, they're removed from the envelope, the ballots are processed, they're separated out at that point. How would you ever go back, track those ballots with the person who initially mailed them? That would be nearly impossible.
So it's obviously not nearly impossible. Back in October, we'd already fought all these battles. Every single state is sorting the things that come in mail late and the things that came in on November 3rd. That was ordered by the Supreme Court that you have to do this. All right? So don't believe the news. They're going to lie to you. They're going to say that legal analysts think that Donald Trump has no case. That's absolutely wrong. Justice Alito disagrees with them. Everybody disagrees with him. The Constitution is unambiguous. Those are the words of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. The Constitution says there is one date. It's unambiguous. There's no question about it. Okay? So when you watch this news, which that was just this morning, don't believe it. Ignore it. The count for the President of the United States has stopped, and the mail is being separated. And right now, everything that's being counted on Tuesday night and Wednesday and Thursday are risks. They're opportunities for fraud to come in. They're opportunities for someone to come in with a whole caseload of ballots, slip them in there with no postage mark, because according to Pennsylvania, the only invalid ballots are the ones postmarked after November 3rd. So if it doesn't have a postmark, if it's got a blank in the corner, it's legal. If you can't read it, if it's been marked out, it's legal. That's what Pennsylvania has decided. Stupid, but that's what they've decided. And again, that only applies to all the other check boxes on your ballot. It doesn't apply to the President of the United States. They have created a system in Georgia and Pennsylvania where you've got this one piece of paper that has to be in on 2 different dates. November 3rd, if you want to have a say in the president. November 6th, if you want all the other things counted. So, but the news isn't going to tell you this. Of course not. Look, Trump has been beating up the news forever. They finally have an opportunity to get him back. Just enjoy the show. But what's going to come down at the end is there's going to be whatever came in on November 3rd has been sorted out. Whatever came in after that is going to be counted for everything except the President of the United States. So don't worry too much. Don't get spun up about this. I know all your liberals at work are going to start talking about, hey, Trump is doing all this. Trump's doing a great job right now. He's doing what needs to be done. This thing needs to go to court. These election scams, these runaway rogue election policies need to be seen in court. And the only way that we will find evidence of fraud is to bring it into court. You're not going to see it unless a court gives you permission and a warrant to go in and look at all the ballots, look at all the procedures, look at all the processes. President Trump right now is cleaning up our election system. And in Wisconsin in particular, this is something that started 4 years ago. If you remember, the libertarian Jill Stein, she challenged a recount, and Hillary Clinton joined a recount because she lost by 20,000 votes. So Hillary wanted a recount in Wisconsin, and Jill Stein wanted a recount in Wisconsin. Now look back at that news article. The reason Jill Stein paid $3 million to recount in Wisconsin and Hillary joined them is to expose the massive fraud that's going in there. And Hillary wound up changing by about 600, and Trump's lead increased by about 800 votes when they did the recount. So Wisconsin is a particularly bad spot. That's why he's challenging that. Now, the news is telling you that he's not challenging Michigan because, I don't know, he's given up or something. That's not true at all. When Hillary tried to challenge Michigan in 2016, they couldn't complete a recount because they have an obscure law that if the numbers of voters in a precinct on a voter poll and the numbers reported aren't exactly the same, then a recount is considered invalid. So they can only recount counties and precincts where the numbers exactly match up. Any errors, whether it's a pen and ink error or someone just goes in there and puts an extra zero on there, or however it comes up, if the numbers aren't exactly matched, Michigan does not allow a recount in those precincts. So Trump gave up on Michigan because their laws are so screwed up, you can't complete a recount in Michigan. It's not possible to. Their laws, specifically in that state, make it impossible unless all the numbers exactly match up by what's on the registered voter poll and what has been submitted. So that's what's really happening. Ignore the news or just enjoy it with some popcorn. None of it is real, and they're all mad at Donald Trump, and I'm happy for what Donald Trump is doing. This needs to get into court. The voter turnout is spectacular. Donald Trump has pulled out more voters for Republicans than anyone ever has in this year, and that says that we approve of what he's doing, even though the news is telling us, whatever. All right, enjoy the show. Grab some popcorn. Go to work. Don't worry about the drama. The numbers for the president are sealed. It's probably going to be 270 for Biden, which means if we go back to 2016 again, if you remember Michael Baca, he was the one that George Soros bought to throw the election into the House of Representatives, the faithless electors. Okay, so Michael Baca called around to all the other electors, Clinton and Republican electors, and he wanted to make sure that neither one of them, Clinton or Trump, reached the number 270. If you can stop someone from reaching 270, then what happens is the House of Representatives decides the president. Not the individual representatives, but each state gets one vote. So what that means, in 2016, Hillary Clinton had more states than Donald Trump did. So if he was successful, he wound up successfully getting two other people to agree to throw their electoral votes in Colorado. He got two in Washington, and they did change their vote to Kucinich or whoever, a random Republican. They just threw their vote to some random person instead of Hillary Clinton. And he threw his vote away from Hillary Clinton to prevent her from reaching 270. And there were some in Texas as well. So George Soros paid for this whole thing on a change.org petition, right? And he got these electors to throw their votes. What goes around comes around. So today, we're going to have a vote that's probably going to be 270 for Biden, 268 for Donald Trump. Well, that means if one of 270 different people decide to be a moral elector who decide that the popular vote is what we should go by, if there's one person, if there's one Michael Baca out there, or of the 11 other people that he convinced, if one single person violates their pledge to Joe Biden and puts a different name on their piece of paper, then they will cause the House of Representatives to vote by ballot for the next president of the United States. And every state gets exactly one vote. Everyone in Florida, every congressman in Florida, every representative in Florida is going to cast a ballot. Florida is red. That vote will go for Donald Trump. Everyone in Pennsylvania, that vote will go for Trump. Everyone in Texas will go for Trump. Actually, there are 27 states right now that are red according to Electoral College. The states themselves are red. Okay? But the number of states for Joe Biden are 25. So if there is one Michael Baca out there who throws one of the 270 people, decides to write a different name than Joseph Biden, just one, anywhere, then Donald Trump wins the president of the United States. If he doesn't win it legitimately through the courts right now. But the courts are good. Don't listen to the news telling you that it's bad. Don't listen to the report saying there's no way to sort this out. It's already done. It's in the Supreme Court. It's locked. Don't say that the votes cast after November 3rd are going to count towards the president. They can't. Even in Pennsylvania, Supreme Court justice, please look up the judge's decision. They acknowledged that the Constitution says very clearly, every state in the United States shall have the exact same time and date set by Congress. States do not have a right to change that vote for the president of the United States. All the other ones, the Constitution doesn't have any kind of guidance on. But that one checkbox has a solid, rock solid date written down. It is set by Congress, and that date is November 3rd. Every other vote for president won't count. The only thing the judges are allowing to happen, they're allowing the ballots to be collected for all the other issues. It looks like, if you watch the news, it looks like they're having questions, or they're not sure how the court would rule, or it's already been approved. Some news reporters are actually saying it's already been approved for a delay in the ballots. And that's true, a delay in the ballots, but not the presidential vote. So they're twisting the words up and making you anxious, and it's like a good suspense thriller. It's like watching a wrestling match, and just enjoy it, because none of it matters. We have a president of the United States. It's Donald J. Trump. And yeah, the only thing that can throw that right now is states like Arizona. And if we lose the recount in Georgia, no, we can't. No, Georgia's sealed. Georgia is sealed. Georgia's ours. Is Trump's. Pennsylvania is Trump's. Wisconsin, there's 235,000 people who have moved in Wisconsin whose names were on the voter registration and were not removed. Okay, so there's 200,000 registered voters who are no longer living where they're registered in the state of Wisconsin. Those names can be picked up by anybody, by you or me or whatever. The list was published by the Wisconsin Supreme Court in the case that we tried to get them removed from the ballots before the primary election. Now, it's unbelievable how this all happened, but this conservative group tried to get these things removed before this election, these 235,000 names, because the law in Wisconsin requires them to remove the names. But they sued the Commission on Elections, the Wisconsin Commission on Elections, and said, you didn't do your job. And the judge said, okay, you didn't do your job. You'll be fined if you don't remove the names. The commission said they ignored them. They didn't remove the names. Then they went back to court and appealed. And then the appellate court said, hey, you know, the law in Wisconsin, it doesn't say that it's the Commission on Elections job. It is the Milwaukee Board of Commissioners job to remove it. So they sued the wrong person. That's why there's 235,000 registered voters in Wisconsin who don't live where they were when they registered. Those names are up for grabs. Maybe they're out in Ohio somewhere. Maybe they moved. Maybe they've died. Who knows? Whatever has happened, they are no longer eligible to vote in the precincts that they're registered. But those names, someone could walk in with that name, and the only thing that would protect that vote is if the signature doesn't match. So the signature checkers have to be very, very, very careful. And they've never checked this many envelopes in history. So they're going to get tired, not have enough coffee, whatever, and they're going to slip it through, and they're going to say, okay. Okay. I mean, how do you babysit that kind of thing? So the Wisconsin vote, there are enough illegal ballots out there, enough illegal voters out there to change 20, 30, 40, 100,000 votes. There are enough registered voters who are not where they belong, illegally registered voters, to swing that state one way or another. And the only thing protecting us right now are the people checking the signatures. That's why the recount is so important in Wisconsin. And and Wisconsin's good about the recount rules. They let everybody observe it, but we've got to get people watching those signatures. Look at the signature, look at the registration card signature, and throw it out. You know, if it's not valid. And that could change a lot of votes in Wisconsin and make it red. All right. That's real news. Thank you for watching.